Well, welcome everybody. I am so excited to be bringing Sheila Johnson to you today. Sheila is a doctor of natural medicine specializing in lifestyle wellness coaching. She is well equipped. She's a VIP consultant with an international wellness company called Aplgo, and she's also a certified essential oil specialist. She has a private practice located in Virginia where she provides emotional support through one-on-one holistic wellness and herbal remedies, consultations, and she is truly just so vibrant with love and energy and vibrancy. You're going to get this from her as soon as she takes the floor from us. But she loves all things wellness, my friends. She's been married, or she is married, and she has two adult children. And today she is going to be bringing to us a topic and talking to us about self-care as a form of emotional wellness. Now, I love self-care. Not always did I step into that space of actually taking care of myself, because let's face it, us women, we typically will take care of everybody else. And then we have the leftovers, which is usually crumbs from our baby's plates or our dog's dog food bowl. Like, we typically don't have a lot left over to give to ourselves. But I love how society is really making that shift and making self-care a priority in our lives so that we can have what we need in our emotional tank, in our mental health tank, to be able to serve, filling our cup with the good stuff so that we can be overflowed and bless those all around us. We can actually be more effective and more helpful and more loving to our friends and family and our communities when our cup is full. I talked to a coach last week where we're talking about that whole cup is full component. And she says, a lot of people think that they can't pour from an empty cup, but you can. Just think of what you'd be pouring: exhaustion, frustration, and all of the negative stuff that comes from the sludge at the bottom of your coffee mug. So we have to take that into perspective, ladies, because if we are just pouring from an empty cup, we're just sludging all over everybody. But if we can fill our cups up by taking some of the principles that Sheila's going to share with us today, and really take that time and love ourselves, then our cup is going to overflow. And I know Sheila is a great example of filling her cup, because she is just going to love all over you. Like, look at her smile. Like, her smile is so contagious. Like, I don't think you could ever walk into a room, Sheila, and not just change the whole energy of that room. You are just so vibrant. I'm so blessed to have met you, and I'm even more honored that you're coming into this space to share your expertise today. So I'm going to give it to you, my friend, and let you share with us your expertise and dive into how self-care can help our emotional wellness.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Stacy. Thank you for your introduction of me. And it's just so sweet. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for having me. And I feel the same about you. You are so vibrant as well. And I'm also happy to be a part of this community.
Yeah.
Well, self-care. I guess before I get into self-care, I guess I'd tell you a little bit about how I started with this wellness journey. And then did get into self-care as well. But with my wellness journey started over about 10 years ago, 10 plus years ago. And I saw a lot of physical ailments going on with my family. And I couldn't understand why. And also, right around that same time, I started getting physical ailments as well. And I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. And I had went to the doctor, and the doctor had given me medication. Well, at the same time, I was also taking classes took a weekend certification class in natural health, because I was looking for something more natural. Even though the doctor was giving me medication, I was taking medication, but it seemed like nothing really helped me. The medication would help a little bit, and then it wouldn't work all the way. I don't understand why, but we'll get back to that in a few minutes. But anyway, I I was taking medication, and I started to, when I took the class, the certification class for the weekend, that weekend certification class, I became certified in natural health.
Mm.
And I just felt a love for wellness. It was such a good class. And with that class, I realized that it's not about just what you eat and what you drink. It's also how you think
Mm.
to be able to know, to have optimal health. And so, okay, I started to do a little bit more for my health, eating well, thinking differently, and my health started to improve. I got off my medication, and I was so happy about that, and I was helping my family as well. And then I would say in about 5 or 6 years after that, my father became sick, and me and my mother was caregivers for him.
Mhm.
And then my son also went to college. My oldest son went to college and moved away. And then my physical ailments started coming back. And I couldn't understand that either. And then I did some more research, looked into it, and then I realized, oh, emotions had a lot to do with it. It was a highs and lows of emotions of dealing with my father as he was sick, and also with my son leaving the house.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
was a high and low of emotion as well, because your oldest children
The
leaving the
baby.
house. Yes, that's a lot on the emotion. I've had
Mhm.
other women that, and they said, "Oh, I was fine when my child left the house. I was okay.
I
I
packed
was
his
ready for
bags.
them to go. I was ready for them to go."
Yeah.
Yeah, but it hurt me. It bothered me because I felt like, oh, I felt a loneliness, a
Mm.
depression come over me. So then my symptoms started coming back. So
Mhm.
I realized that emotions play a big part in the way we feel physically, along with what we eat and drink. But what I want to discuss today is basically self-care and emotional wellness. So
Mm.
that's what I'm going to discuss today.
I'm so excited.
Right. So what I want to say first is I want to talk about emotions and feelings that we have. And, you know, it's hard to talk about feelings a lot of times. We stuff our feelings in, Stacey, and
Mm.
we don't always express how we really feel. And by stuffing those feelings in, that's how physical ailments, concerns start within the body, because we do stuff them in. And when I say stuff them in, I was thinking of a cartoon that I remember when I was a little girl. And I don't know if you remember this cartoon. This is an old cartoon. I don't even know what year this was, but it was a pig, and the pig, he just got so big. Well, this is a pig where he would eat till he got so big he blew up. Well,
Okay.
that's yeah. So, but that's what emotions are. You stuff them and you stuff them in, you stuff them in, and then it gets to the point where you blow up after a while. You blow up, you get mad at someone, you fuss at them, and so it's just then it gets to be a problem when it
Yeah,
gets to
50
that
shades
point
of
where you blow
ugly.
up. Right. So true. So that's what I think of when I think of emotions, how we stuff them in and
Mhm.
we don't express them. But I want to say that it's best to express your feelings and your emotions, to take better care of yourself and to do self-care. And the 3 steps that you need to do to process those feelings or those emotions. And the first one is you need to acknowledge the feeling,
Mm.
acknowledge it, acknowledge how you really feel about the actual emotion that you're feeling. Really, there's no right and there's no wrong way of how you express or how you acknowledge these feelings, because they're going to come and go like ebb and flow, like you flow like the water,
Mm.
because it's human that we go through different emotions of up and down. But it's best to acknowledge them for uh, positivity. So you're taking out the negativity and you're bringing in more positivity when
Mhm.
you acknowledge emotions.
Mhm.
Number two is to process the emotion. So we went from number one to acknowledge it, and then you have to process it. That's number two. And you process the emotions through positive self-talk of yourself, not
Mhm.
to be negative. We tend to be negative and give negative self-talk, but that's not good to do. And getting rid of these negative emotions, try to be more positive. Now, you might say, well, how do I be more positive? How do I give more positive self-talk within myself? Well, one of the things you can do is to meditate.
Mhm.
You can meditate. You're being at one with yourself. You're taking time to do deep breathing, inhale and exhale, deep breathing,
Mhm.
and to also keep, as you're breathing, as you're meditating, you are listening and focusing on the breath. And that gives you a more positive outlook too, as you're in one with yourself, and you could pray. As a matter of fact, you could pray. You could just sit there and be at one with yourself as a part of meditation, as a part of an emotional wellness, self-care. You
Mhm.
can also journal. Journaling is also good too, to get the actual expressions out on paper.
Mhm.
Get those emotions out on paper, how you really feel. Then it'll change the way you think about that emotion when you get it out on paper, what you really want to say that's inside yourself.
Mhm.
Also, you can do physical exercise as a way to express that emotion, to release that emotion. You can also use essential oils, which I'm going to explain a little bit more later. And you can also soak up some negative ions, such as getting out there in the park, walking in the park, being around water, around the ocean, the lake. All those negative ions make you feel so much calmer and relaxed, and that gets rid of negative emotions as well. So
Mhm.
that's just some things that I've mentioned that will get rid of those negative emotions. And when I work with clients, I do use herbal remedies to help release emotions when I work with them. So I do a little bit of tapping with them, EFT with them,
Mhm.
and so they can release negative emotions from the body.
It's so good because EFT like actually helps open up your energy flows. From what I understand, I've had a couple sessions in that, and the lady that was doing the procedure, or the modality, um, she was like asking me questions about stuff that was like locked up inside of me that was attached to emotions, anger, bitterness, stuff like that. And she would ask me questions. Well, what does this mean to you? What does that mean to you? And it would just stir up all kinds of stuff for me. And then it would help me realize or recognize that, hey, like I haven't dealt with that ugly little devil in my head. So I need to get back into figuring out how to navigate through that so I can heal and not have it cause all this blockage inside my energy systems.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. That's so
So
true.
good.
Mm-hmm. So now, so we're going to do a little recap again. Recap. So the first one was to release and face your emotions by acknowledging, number one. Number two, to process. And number three, to release it.
Mm,
That's the third one, to release the emotion. And so you're going to take the emotion and you're going to bless it and release it. It's
yeah.
simple as that.
And I
I know
love
it sounds
how,
simple.
no, I love how you've shared a few ways to navigate those emotions without actually having to like verbal diarrhea all over your loved ones. Because, in my son plays hockey. So in the sports realm, they'll always say, like, if you have a problem, give it 24 hours before you address it so that you can get your emotions in check. Because us crazy hockey parents, we can get a little nutso sometimes. And so most sports parents can when their kids are playing competitive sports. So they always recommend that you give yourself that 24 hours before you address what if somebody else is causing that emotion or that feeling within you. So it's always good to take inventory through the journaling and the meditating and the praying and just being with yourself and understanding why you're feeling that way. And I love how you can add that modality of EFT and the herbal remedies to help people break open those emotions so that they can heal and
Yes.
deal with them differently, right?
That's right. And so when you're releasing it, it's almost like you hear this when if you practice yoga, you're letting it go. Might have heard of that term before, let go. Well, that's what I'm saying when I say to bless it and release it, to release that negative emotion. And I have a quote from a good friend of mine, and she is also an author and a speaker and mindset coach. But her quote is this, and I thought it made a lot of sense when you're talking about negative emotions. She said, negative emotions don't serve us except for the lessons they tell us.
Ooh, that is good. Gold.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
good.
I'm going to say it one more time because it's so good. Negative emotions don't serve us except for the lessons they tell us. So our emotions, as I was saying, are only human. You're going to have them anyway, and they're going to come and go like the tide. But these are lessons that teach us, and you'll know better how to handle these emotions through the different self-care techniques that I have mentioned earlier. And I'm going to mention some more. I haven't finished. There's some more. There's some more things you could do to release these emotions, these negative emotions.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy because these negative emotions actually are in the body and they stay within the cells of the body. And in traditional Chinese medicine, it's noted that anger stays within the liver. It stays within the liver of the body, and fear is located in the kidneys. So those need to be released, and they can be released by doing what I've mentioned earlier, the meditation, the journaling as one, the exercise, eating well. That's another thing to do. So when I work with my clients, I'm working with the holistic aspect because it's all centered around one particular thing. It's holistic. So I deal with the mind, the body, and the soul. It's not just one thing.
Right.
I always see on TV, sometimes you see some of these weight loss commercials and they talk about losing weight and they talk about the physical aspect of it. But these commercials never talk about the mental aspect or the emotional aspect. And so a lot of times a woman will gain the weight back, gain the weight that they tried to lose and gain it back and more because they haven't dealt with the emotional side.
So true.
It's all in one.
The body believes what the body receives what the mind believes, right? That old quote. And there's a lot of truth behind that. And you can't, I actually had a coach come and share. She was a nurse and she used to help people go through the gastric bypass procedure, which is a very aggressive procedure where you're getting your stomach shrunk, right? To help people lose weight. And she said it was breaking her heart because people would come in and they get this really intensive surgery, and within months down the road, not even years, but months down the road, they're back trying to get a second surgery because they didn't do the mental work. Because even if they go through that, they can lose a ton of weight and feel good about themselves. But if they don't do the source of the problem, fix the source of the problem, which is typically our thought processes, it will just be right back to where we started. Like you said, we'll gain
Mm-hmm.
it back and then some, right?
Yeah.
It brings
Mm-hmm.
all their friends.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've heard that before too with other people that had that type of surgery. I've heard that before as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's heartbreaking. So
It is.
we got to get to the root of the problem and find that balance within the mind, body, and soul, right? So,
Right.
mhm,
Mm-hmm. That is so true.
mhm.
And as I was saying, the negative emotions stay within the body. And some of those emotions also is in the second brain. And I
So,
know you've heard of the second brain. The
mhm,
second brain is in the digestive system, or as we always call it, the gut.
mhm.
And it's funny how sometimes you have anxiety over something, you're nervous about something, and you feel it right in the stomach area.
Yeah,
Because that's the second brain. And so a lot of our feelings and our emotions are stuck right in the gut as well.
yeah, which can cause all kinds of digestive issues, right? There's all
Hmm.
kinds, like a
Uh-huh.
epidemic. Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep. That's true.
Interesting to know that anger sits in our liver and fear sits in our kidneys,
Mm-hmm.
because I just that just break. I have you ever heard of Henry Wright? He does um just trying to see if his book's down here with me. No, it's upstairs. um it's a Being Health conference, and so he talks about the spiritual root of a lot of different diseases that we will have, like even shingles. People that get shingles or eczema, the dry skin, the rashes that break out, is usually coming from a nervousness or fear, or because our body will manifest these things, because we're not processing or managing our emotions or having certain things in check.
Mm-hmm.
Stress is a
Mm-hmm.
massive killer, and it wreaked havoc on my gut. And so I'm a huge um, advocate for just taking inventory of your body and learning what it's trying to tell us. And if you have kidney stones, like, have you found, like, with working with your clients, knowing that fear is sitting in your kidneys, like, would that like transpire like kidney stones, like people that are prone to that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like they can get angry easily, or
Yeah. Well, physical ailments can happen if you don't release the emotions, if you don't come to grips with the emotion, and you have emotional triggers, then a physical ailment can start.
and what would you say to someone, Sheila, if they can't put a name to their emotions? Like, there's been seasons in my marriage where my husband would be like, well, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? What do you need? How do I help you? Like, how do I love you? I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't put words to it. Like, you just know you needed something different, but I didn't know how to put words to it. So how would you help somebody navigate their emotions if they don't even know how to put words to them?
Well, sometimes you can't put words to it because sometimes when you have a certain emotion, sometimes you'll say you're sad when really you might be frustrated. So you have to put the right word to it. But the way you can do that when I'm working with a client is through EFT. And then I have also a workbook, and also meditations to help them to see what is the actual word that I'm trying to come up with. What is this emotion I'm really feeling?
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's so good. So good. I'm sorry to keep interrupting
Oh,
you.
that's okay. That's all right. That's fine. That is fine. So as I mentioned, I do have other ways to release, and I was mentioning that I was going to bring it up again to you. And
Mhm.
so the other ways to release emotions, negative emotions, is through gratitude.
Oh, yeah.
Gratitude, that is so important as a form of self-care. I see all these different apps, and I have one, as a matter of fact, where you every day you write in your phone. As an app, you could put the information right in your phone, where you list 3 things that you're most grateful for each day. And then at night, you put down the 3 things you've done that you're most grateful for that day.
That's awesome.
So let's see. Yeah, in the morning and then at night for the gratitude. The second thing would be to release the negative emotions would be affirmations. That is so important as well. There's a lady that does affirmations. She's wrote several books. Louise Hay. She has she has a lot of affirmations that help with all sorts of ailments that you might have, from headaches to muscle aches and pains, of why you're having those muscle aches and pains, where it's located in the body, and what affirmations say daily to release that emotion that deals with that physical ailment.
Yeah.
And that book is called Heal Your Body by Louise Hay.
I think I have that.
Yeah. I think I have 3 or 4 copies.
Yeah, I definitely have that book. I think I actually recently pulled it off my shelf too. That's why it's triggering my brain.
Yeah, she has wonderful books. She really does. That's just one of them. She has a lot of them. So you should look her up.
Yeah, she does.
For ones that's listening, they can look her up if they don't know about Louise Hay. And also, what helps me to release the emotions is reading scripture, reading the Bible, reading scripture. How, because fear is this false evidence appearing real. And when you know that and you read scripture that relates to that actual affirmation, that quote is not in the Bible, but that helps me. But that quote helps me to understand what I'm feeling, that fear, because fear is not of, fear is not of the Lord, it's not of God.
No.
So he didn't give us fear.
No.
So we need to release that fear, because that's not a part of who we are.
That's right. I've always looked, there was a message I heard many, many years ago about fear and faith and how it's like railroad tracks. So they're right beside each other. There's faith and then there's fear. You can't be on the faith track if you're on the fear track, and vice versa. So if we're going to be on that fear track, it's going to just beat us up like crazy. And that whole thought process of taking captive of our thoughts and according to God's will, we can't do that if we're in the fear zone, because we're always thinking of the negative stuff. And what we think about, we bring about. So I was saying this to a friend yesterday, is that if you think you can't, you won't. Like if you keep telling yourself that same story, I can't, and I just don't have enough, I don't have enough, that scarcity mentality becomes part of your DNA. Like not scientifically, I'm sure, but it does become the way it kind of propels our life. It's in the driver's seat, that fear. If you want to have something change, then jump over on the faith track, and then let the words of God, like how he says, my ways are higher than your ways, my thoughts are higher than your thoughts, like take captive every thought according to my will, and all your days will be blessed. He's the lamp to our feet. Like he'll guide us, right? So if we, no matter what life throws at us, because there's challenges every single day that we all face, to one extreme to another, but if we can be on that faith track, we know that our days are ordered by him, and that no matter what comes at us, he's giving us the tools and the resources to battle through it. And so I'm a huge believer that faith track is a much better track to be on. Yes. I don't want to be stuck in the fear zone. Like it's paralyzing, right?
It is. It can be so paralyzing.
Out of you.
And that's so true. And like you said, Stacey, with the tools is what I mentioned: the meditation, the gratitude, the affirmations. Those are the tools that he gave us to work through all of that. Absolutely. And of course, reading scripture too, so we'll know what he wants of us through his word.
Amen. Love it. Love it.
Now that's a segue. That is definitely a segue in what we're talking about for the last way to release that negative emotion is through essential oils. And essential oils, a lot of people know about essential oils. Some people do know about them as being fragrance. They are cosmetic in a lot of cases. You know, you buy them from Walmart, any store, Bed Bath & Beyond, and you put that essential oil in your diffuser. Makes the house smell good. But there's more to it than that. Essential oils have been around for so many years, for centuries. And it is a biblical, essential oils are biblical. They're found in the Bible. A lot of the times the oils were used for medicinal purposes. They were used as gifts from the 3 wise men to baby Jesus, the essential oil of frankincense and myrrh. So the essential oils have been around for such a long period of time. And essential oils is also a way to release those negative emotions. So when you use them in a diffuser or you use them topically and you put them on your skin and use them topically, as you inhale that essential oil, that is used to release that emotion. So when you inhale the essential oil, it goes into the limbic area of the brain called the amygdala. It goes into that area of the brain where memories and emotions are stored. So when you use that essential oil, it will not change the memory. It will not change it and wipe that memory away. You still have the memory, but it will teach you how to deal with that memory. It won't emotionally trigger you.
Right.
Sometimes, you know, we see people that we might get upset with over something that they did. And then you might meet someone else that maybe do the same type of thing, same type of expression. And then you get mad with them because you're still thinking about the other person, what they did that triggered you to treat that other person the same way that you treated the one before, because you're still dealing with that same emotion. And that's a totally different person.
Yeah, it's like going around the mountain 1,000 times. Stuck in the desert for 40 years until we figure it out.
Right.
Right. Because if we don't understand how to navigate those emotions, we will continue to we'll pass on that vile processing when the emotions come knocking at our door. Like you said, if this person offended us or did something to trigger that emotion, if we dealt with that, if we really learned what we had to learn from that situation or that relationship, the next time someone does that thing, it ain't going to affect us, right? Like, what is
right?
Yeah, sure, no problem. We got this.
Yes, exactly right. Because you're looking at it in a different viewpoint and different perception.
Yeah.
And so that's what the essential oil does when you use it in those ways, topically or in a diffuser. You look at a totally different way, so it won't trigger you to get angry, but you stay calm and cool and collected.
And Sheila, you can tell that you're calm, cool, and collective.
I try to be sometimes.
I don't know if you even got a bone in you that could get angry.
Oh my goodness. I don't know.
You're so precious.
Stacey, you have to talk to my children about that.
Our children make up stories. Who are we kidding? Oh, you're so precious. I just love you.
Thank you. Love you too, Stacey. Thank you. But as I was saying, those emotional triggers, you deal with them totally different. Now, what I want to do now is I want to read to you, if I have time, a little time, I want to read to you one of the essential oils and the emotion that attaches to that essential oil.
Okay.
Let me see, just a minute. Where's my book? Oh, here it is. The one I'm going to talk about today is lavender. As I was talking about essential oils and how it changes your perception when you use it topically or in a diffuser aromatically. And lavender when you're dealing with emotions, it clears the emotions of fear of rejection, racing thoughts, insecurity, and feeling unseen and unloved.
Mm.
As you use the essential oil of lavender, it opens up your communication where you feel calm, you feel a peace of mind, and you feel a self-awareness. And that makes sense because lavender is one oil that most people know about, is commonly used. And I think that's why whenever I use lavender oil topically, it makes me so relaxed that you almost want to go to sleep.
Yeah, well, we'll often go to lavender if we're having trouble sleeping, right? So we'll use
Mm-hmm.
that one to calm us
Yeah.
down. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So it makes sense that it does all those positive properties as well. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to read a little bit more about it. Lavender encourages emotional honesty and assists individuals to speak their innermost thoughts and desires. So it helps with communication. And through lavender's courageous spirit, all are free to share their true self with others.
Mm-hmm.
So it relaxes you, but it also allows you to understand who you really are, who your true self really is by using lavender as well.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
It's a
Funny how
powerful,
little,
it's a
yeah, it's
powerful
funny how
oil.
it's a powerful oil. Who would have thought
Mhm.
that, right? With
Right.
essential oil, when you see it in a bottle, you wouldn't think that is that powerful, but it is.
Mm-hmm. It's a staple in our house, lavender. It's
Hmm.
good for so many things.
Yeah, it's
Mosquito
good for
bites
so.
and bruises and all kinds of stuff. It's great for if you're having a bath and you just want to relax. So you can get it. So your skin will absorb it from the tub, but you also are getting it aromically and because from the steam of your tub. And it's just so relaxing in so many levels. You can put it in a spray bottle and just squirt a couple sprays on your pillows before you go to bed. There's so many things you can do with that oil.
Hmm. That is so true.
Good.
Hmm. Hmm. So, um, one more thing I want to say too is another way to release a negative emotion, and this is an exercise that I've done before, and it really helped me to release a negative emotion of being frustrated and angry. And that was where you burn or you throw away a note. So there was a situation at one time, I'm speaking, being transparent. There was a situation of someone that I thought was a good friend,
Mm,
and that person was not a good friend as I thought that they were. And
mm,
I was really upset because I felt like we were. So I ended up writing the person's name on a piece of paper, and I took that paper and I just threw it away in the trash can. I threw it right away. And the trash man or the dumpster man, trash man came and threw it away. And that was a way of me to release, as I was saying, to release it and release that anger because I didn't see that name. I didn't, it was like saying, okay, I'm done with this. I'm releasing this negative emotion that I'm feeling. And because, I forgave, you have to also, that's dealing with forgiveness as well. So I had to forgive her to help myself. So
mhm.
that was just a way of visualization and actual and reenactment to release that negative emotion.
Yeah. Writing out letters to people that have hurt us or offended us has been a huge key to some of my healing journey. Um, my mom wasn't here for me to have that reconciliation because she had passed on when I was young. Um, and there was just a stirring in me that I never felt loved by her. I always felt like I was, the ugly duckling of the family. Like I always felt that I'm not felt, I was treated differently than the rest of the kids. And so I just didn't understand a lot of things. And through that writing piece of just like pouring out my anger, pouring out my like, I got all judgy in my letter. Let's just be real. Like you did, right? And then through that process, God was able to just soften my heart. And once I got out all of those emotions, all that pain of rejection and mistreatment, I was able to step back and be like, all right, God, now show me a different story. Give me a different lens to look at the situation. And it was a very healing process for me to be able to look at the scenario and understand why I was treated differently and why my mom gave me the best that she possibly could with what she was given. And I had to come to realization to that I couldn't expect anything more from her because of A, how I was conceived, and B, how she was raised. And so those two components were just like, okay, God, I get it. I get it. Like, how selfish of me to just be so enraged and bitter and angry about everything that I went through as a child when my mom did the best that she could. But I would not have seen that. I wouldn't have seen it otherwise if I didn't do that exercise. So that is so good. Such a great tip.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I did exercise similar to that too, but with my father. And you made me see that when you talked about about your mother too, they did the best that they could do at that time, and that makes sense. I know my father, your mother, they did the best that they could do at the time that they did it. It was just a different time when they were, when they were here. My father has passed away too, and so it was just a different time.
Yeah.
And they did the best that they could do for
And
what they knew.
Or how they were trained or
Raised.
taught, right? Yeah. How
Yes,
they were raised.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And so we can't, I remember God saying to me in my heart, it's like, Stacey, how could she love you the way you needed to be loved when she's never been loved like that? So my mom grew up in the foster system. And so she had a horrific upbringing. And then, like, I'm a product of prostitution. So I was constantly reminding her of a past that she was ashamed of. And whether she knew it or didn't know it, and I'm sure she didn't even realize she was doing it, because it was a lot of the times when you're in that much turmoil within your own self, that your subconscious will just be on autopilot and you just say and do things without even realizing the damage that you're doing.
Yeah.
But until I came into realization of that, I wasn't a very nice person. And so I had to.
I can't believe it, Stacey.
Oh, honey. Let me tell you, I was a hot mess. I'm surprised I even had friends. But yeah, it literally, it was extremely humbling for me. And I feel closer to my mom today than I've ever felt in my life, because I have the utmost respect for the battle that she had to fight through life, and how she really truly did try to make better choices to give her kids a better life. And I think she's done a good job. She's instilled some really good seeds. It's just up to, what's that good old saying, is like, all we can do is our best and let God do the rest, right?
Yes.
So now it's in God's hands. And so we just got to just give it to him. And
that's right.
Yeah. With our own children, because because when my daughter was younger, I was going through my healing journey, and I always wanted to make sure that she knew she was loved and that she was secure and safe and that she could do anything that she put her mind to. And I always wanted to instill those traits into her. But when I was going through all my healing journey, it was a hot, ugly mess, and I was emotionally disconnected. So she felt unloved and she felt neglected, and all of those things that transpired, which in my heart of hearts, I did not want her to feel that one little tiny bit. And she did, as a waterfall effect. It just spewed out onto her. I didn't realize that until she became an adult and she was able to express her emotions with me, which took the wind out of my sails. But at the same
Mhm.
time, I was like, you know what? You're right. I wasn't fully present, and for that, I'm sorry. Um, so for all the moms out there, that if you're going through your healing journey or you're going through conflict with your children, hang on, because it does get better. It just keep
Mhm. Mhm.
pressing in and
Mhm.
trying to find your healing. Because once you do, you're able to come at it with a different heart. Because if my daughter would have given me that letter when I was in the middle of my healing journey, I would have retaliated and been nasty. Um, but when she gave it to me, I was already in a place of healing and security in who I was, that I was able to say, you know what, I'm going to own this. And yes, I'm very sorry that you endured
Mhm.
that or you felt that way. And for her, it's real. It's all real to her. And so I really had to own that. And it's not a fun place to be for a mom, I tell you.
No, it's not. It's not. It's heartbreaking.
It
But they
is.
have yeah, but they have their own healing journey too that they
Thank
have to go through.
you.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I'm so, it just warms my heart to know that my daughter's bold enough to be able to express her emotions or her feelings, and to help to know when she needs help and support, and when she can, how to navigate through all of that. Um, so for that, I would have to say, like, her just watching my journey, she was like, ah, not doing that, not doing that. Right.
You're right. But Stacey, isn't it a beautiful thing that children today can do that? Because I
Mm,
look at children today and they are so much bolder on what how they feel to express themselves. And a lot of them at my age, when I was their age, I couldn't have done that,
no,
but they do.
me neither.
Mhm.
Like I remember, like actually I ran into a few years back, I ran into somebody I grew up with in my teenage into early adulthood. And her impression on me was that, oh, where's Stacy? Is she in the corner? She's always in the corner, right? Because I'd always pull back and try to like be the invisible person, the people watcher, to see if I was safe, to see if I was in an environment where I could actually embrace or engage in conversation. I never would just, randomly just reach out to strangers and be like, hey. And now I will go out of my way at the grocery store to tell somebody that they have, great lipstick. Can't say that now with all the masking and junk, but
Yes.
I I go out of my way, like, hey, I love your leggings, or I'll reach out to little babies and little kids because I love them, and um get all eye contacty with them and stuff like that. Just to, I would never have done that before. I just wanted to be invisible, and hopefully nobody would actually acknowledge my existence.
Mm.
But that was
Mhm.
because of the way I was raised. Like, you are not to be seen or heard unless you're called upon, right? So that was the way I was brought up. And
Oh
so
yeah.
if
Me
you
too.
you better break through that, and really step into who God created me to be, instead of letting the enemy squash me and hold me captive in that space where I was not meant to I wasn't meant to be planted there.
Mhm.
In
Mhm.
that dysfunction. That wasn't God's
Yeah.
original plan for me. But he can turn it all around for his purpose and glory.
Exactly. That is so true.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Me all rambly. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that is fine. I'm getting a
Yeah.
lot of information too.
Yeah, it's so good to, because emotions are, they can be very misleading.
Mhm.
And I love how you are really stressing to the women in this community to really take inventory of those through your writing and your gratitude practices. What we think about, we bring about. So if we are taking the time to really take inventory of the things that we're grateful for, we're going to be bringing more of those things into our life. If
Exactly.
you're taking inventory of all the things that you hate about your life, there's going to be more of that showing up at your door as well. Like,
Mhm. Yep.
everything that we think about, we bring about. And so I love how you are bringing this awareness and your super soft spirit to love women
Thank you.
and to help them break free from the emotional bondage, because it can be very paralyzing, not understanding.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, when this, as we were talking about this whole time, you want to release the negative emotions into more positive ones to help you to have more optimum health in the body, in the cells of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so important. And as part of my my coaching, when I work with clients, I offer, I do a 7-day cleanse program, self-care cleanse program, where they have to do something for 7 days. They do something in the morning, and it's brief, maybe about 5 minutes of your morning, 5 minutes of the afternoon, done after lunch, and then something to do right before you go to bed at night. And you do this for 7 days. And all of this is part of not only releasing emotions, but to teach you how to actually do some type of self-care daily,
Mm.
because we all need to do that, to learn to do that daily. You know, self-care is not just about getting a pedicure once a month or getting a massage once a month. It's dealing with specifically inner work, as I end with all the things that I've mentioned.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
mhm.
I'm not one that typically goes and does those things on a regular basis. Like it'll take me 2 to 3 years to go and get my hair trimmed. Like I just don't, I'm not, I've never really been one that has to have their nails all, mine are all trashed anyway. So I'm not one to have that done. It's nice, absolutely, but it's not always in my budget. And so, and that's like a lot of us, it's not something we have in our budget to go and pamper ourselves that way. But you can pamper your soul in your spirit.
Mhm. That's right.
Journaling, which is super easy. You can just scrap paper from wherever. You don't have to have any fancy journal or fancy pens. You can
Mhm.
just write on anything just to get it out and take a bath. That's in your house. Like it's not like you have to go anywhere specific. So,
That's true. And that's free.
and
All
it's
of that is
free.
free.
Yes. And I think that there's a lot of value to that, a lot of value that can come from just spending time with yourself. One of the big things that I've learned even in my own marriage, so if anyone's dealing with relational conflict, when I would always be picking at and outward looking like, oh, he doesn't, he do, you know, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't actually take a step back and just like stop putting your energy to what he does and doesn't do. What are you bringing to the table to value this relationship? What are you bringing to the
Mhm.
table, Stacey,
Mhm.
to invest in your marriage? Because if you're constantly pointing at him and his faults, start taking inventory of your own junk. Like
Yes.
right? Because
Mhm.
he could probably point a lot of fingers back at me if he was that type of person. Thank God he's not. So so I had to just take a step back and be like, okay, like I want to start loving myself and start putting some of my energies and my passions and my dreams into fruition, like into motion, so that they can come to fruition. And the more I do that, the more he's like affirming and supportive. Like I was telling my daughter that last week, it's just like, you know, at the beginning stages of our marriage, she was having a conversation about one of her relationships. And so the beginning stages of our marriage, my husband would not cook, like just not happen. His mom did everything for him. He didn't do
Mm.
laundry. He didn't scrub a toilet. He did not cook. And if he did, it was spaghetti or a fried egg sandwich, because that was something he couldn't really truly screw up. So, but now, like 18 years later, which I would never have seen at the beginning stages of our marriage,
Mm.
the guy does the majority of the cooking. I do the cleaning in the kitchen because that's kind of, I can do it easier than he can, and he doesn't mind cooking. So it's a
Mhm.
great synergy that we've created. And even laundry, which is a chore for most households, we've got it down to an art. So he works from home on Tuesdays and I'm at the office. And so he washes and dries everything and throws it on the bed. He can't fold a shirt to save his life. So, but I can fold it and put it away. So it's a joint effort. We're able to share the responsibility. So it's not all on one person. I don't
Exactly.
even know why I'm going on that tangent, but just like on the whole relationship stuff, there's always things that come up that women are constantly serving, constantly doing, and we don't typically feel appreciated for all the things that we do to support the household. And then we get frustrated and angry, and then we start picking apart instead of taking a step back and saying like, and being able to communicate, hey, this is becoming too much of me. Could maybe we join, like tag team this particular chore, and try to find a middle ground, because guaranteed if we can come at it with a different heart and being able to have those conversations and express our emotions in a healthy way, our partners, who obviously love you, typically if they're in a relationship, there's got to be some kind of a connection. There's my
Exactly.
assumption. Not everybody has that, I'm sure, but if it's worth fighting for, then it's worth communicating through and sharing the pressure that's on you and seeing if you can diversify some of the daily tasks.
Exactly. It's funny. It all goes back to the same thing, emotions.
Yes.
Yeah, all goes back.
Feisty little things.
And you can have a lot of emotions when you're dealing with, and when you're in all different types of relationship with your husband, or, your significant other, your mother, your father, it's all different emotions.
So many.
Yeah, it is.
A boatload. Yeah. All right, Sheila, did you have any other amazing tips to share with our friends here in the community?
Another amazing tip, I might have mentioned it before, but it was it was basically another tip of belly breathing. I know I mentioned briefly about the meditation, being with your mind and focusing on the breath, but belly breathing is also important to release the emotions as well. It's just so many, and I just gave you a few.
Yeah. When you say belly breathing, and I think somebody that's going through an anxiety attack or a panic attack, because those emotions are so like overwhelming. When we are in that state, you're not belly breathing. And
No, you're
so
not.
it's short, shallow hyperventilation, like you're gasping for air. But if you can take a quick, a hot minute, step back, and then really engage that deep breath right into your belly, then it gives more oxygen to your body, into your brain, and helps calm you.
Exactly.
It's such a great tool.
And the way it calms you is by inhaling and holding the breath for a few seconds, and then exhale. And do that at least 3 or 4 times, where you inhale, hold the breath, and then exhale. I've also seen where you could use alternative nostril breathing, where you breathe out of one nostril and then breathe in the inhale on the other nostril. So you breathe out and then hold the other nostril, breathe out, inhale, and then exhale.
Yeah, we had a coach take us through that exercise a few weeks back. So yeah, it is a great form of breathing technique, because you don't realize just where things get stuck or blocked, right?
Right. That's so true.
So good. Love it. So tell me, I'm curious. I would like for you to share with my community about your candy.
Ooh.
So everybody here, Sheila, when we first met, she said, I'm known as the Candy Lady. So tell us, Candy Lady, what is so special about these particular little candies that you blessed me with?
Oh my goodness. Well, I want to talk to you about that too. And it's funny because I am the candy lady. And in being holistic health, I have a lot of different hats. So yes, I am a holistic lifestyle coach, but I'm also a nutraceutical VIP consultant for those little candies. And the candies are of an international company called Aplgo. And the candies are actually botanicals. They're herbal botanicals. So the candies have in them herbal remedies, herbs, and also fruits and vegetables are also in each drop.
So ladies, we can have our cake and eat it too.
That's right. They're kosher free. They're kosher. They're 1 gram of sugar, gluten free, vegan.
Love it.
And the products are registered by the FDA as a whole food.
That's brilliant. So good. This is gold.
It is.
Yeah. I remember, like, for me, I grew up with my mom had addictions to pharmaceuticals. And so when you see a loved one that has an addiction to pills, it's really hard to take vitamins, like mentally. Even though I can do it, I've had to do it, but I wrestle. And it's a unconscious, subconscious thing in my head where I was like, even the birth control pill back when I had to be on that, and those pills are so tiny, I would choke on them because I had a really hard time psychologically with taking pills. This is like pop a candy and there's multivitamins, there's stress relief. I got a little cue card. So just so y'all know, and there's what are your 3 main ones? Is your relaxation one for sleep, and your
ice.
And ice for your brain, right?
Yeah, for your digestion.
Ice is for your gut. Yes.
Yeah.
So gut health is imperative these days.
Yes. And I want to say, I want to say this too, Stacey, that this company started 10 years ago. It started 10 years ago internationally, overseas, in Germany and other Europe and other Russian-speaking countries. So it started about 10 years ago, and it's starting to be launched in the United States next year. Right now, it is launched in different countries such as Canada and Latin America and Africa, South Africa. So it is an international company. And I just want to tell you a little story about the candies for me personally.
Yeah, please.
As I was using the candies, well, I went hiking about 2 months ago. Never been hiking before in my life, Stacey.
Wow.
And I went hiking with my son. My 24-year-old son wanted to go hiking with me. And he said, Mom, let's go hiking. And I didn't know how I was going to do that because I do suffer sometimes with arthritis in my legs. And I was wondering, how am I going to do this? So I was wondering, oh boy. And so my son took a picture of me looking at this steep hill, wondering how I was going to climb that hill. And wondering if I could make it, if I could do it. So what I did was I took a combo of the candy. I took the SLD, which is slide, and STP, which is called stop. Slide is good for mobility.
Okay.
So if you have any muscle aches and pains, it's hard to move around. You get stiff as you get up. You're sitting down for a long period of time, and you get stiff joints. Slide is a good candy to use. Good, I call it candy, but it's a herbal drop. And and the second one is stop. That's good for pain. So if you have any type of aches or pains, headaches, take stop. Now, I do want to say that the candies work automatically because it doesn't go into the digestive system. It's a lot like the essential oil. It goes right into the bloodstream. into the cellular membrane. That's what these candies do. And they are plant DNA, instant gratification nutrition. So it's plant DNA, and plant DNA is a lot like our human DNA of the chromosomes. So it works automatically into the system. So anyway, getting back to that story with me and my son, I took the slide and the stop, and I finished that hike with no problem, no aches and no pains. And I was so happy.
Yeah.
And you know what made me happy too, Stacy, was my son told me, he said, "Mom, you're in good shape." And that has made my heart feel so good that I could do that.
So great. And what a great memory to have with your son. Like that is just those moments, especially when they're in adulthood, when you get to have those moments with them, it's priceless.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm so glad you were able to endure that hike and still not, and not end up in bed for the next 3 or 4 days.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so good. So if anybody here in the community wants to get their hands on these candies or, connect with you, to coach with you one-on-one, to deep dive into their emotional wellness and to really just take the tools that you've shared with us today, maybe incorporate some of your EFT training, any of those kinds of things, how would they reach out to you, love?
Oh, they can reach out to me on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, business page, SJ Wellness Coaching. I also have a private Facebook group, which is Self-Care with Dr. Sheila on Facebook. I have an Instagram page, Sheila J Wellness.
Yeah.
Where you can find information. And also I have a website called at selfcarewithdrsheila.com.
Nice.
And I also have a website where you can purchase the candies and find out more about them as well. Have videos that you can watch to find out more about product information about the candies at healthydroppop.com.
I will make sure to put that link here in the bottom of the video for people. So Healthy Drop Pop. That's
Healthy Pop Drop. I'm sorry. Healthy Pop Drop.
Yeah. Well, because you pop it out of the thing and you drop it in your mouth, right?
Yes, exactly.
That makes sense. I love it. I love it. I am there's so many amazing things in this world, and I'm a huge advocate to, in the fact that not everything is good for everybody. But there is something out there for somebody, right? Like we're gonna find our thing. So if the candies aren't that expensive either, from what I understand, right? Like
right. It depends on what your what the physical concern is, because there's 15 different drops for 15 different health concerns. So as I was mentioning, the stop and the slide, that sells for $50 retail, and it also sells for $25 wholesale.
Wow. Okay. That's like a bottle of Advil.
Exactly. And it's 30
right?
drops. Yes.
Yes.
And it's 30 drops in each box.
Yeah.
For $25.
So good. And if you have that amazing testimony of being able to fight through our arthritis, to go for the hike and not have any pains and aches and still have energy afterwards, that is a huge testament to the power of these drops. I know even with my naturopath, she's given me like bottles with drops where they would stick them in underneath your tongue, because again, she says that it absorbs quickly into the system. This, if it just like you're not chewing them, you're sucking on this candy.
Right.
So as it dissolves in your mouth, you're getting it into all of the areas within your mouth, which is very thin skin, which gets into your system a lot easier and quicker. So I can see how it can be quick releasing or quick effective doing his job, getting to work right away.
Yes, that's right.
I lost my English there for a second. So, well, this has been an amazing conversation, Sheila. I very much appreciated you coming and sharing your wisdom in this area and just talking about the candies. I was really excited to share that with the community. There will be, just reach out to her. I'll make sure to put her links here at the bottom of the video so you can go and learn some more about these amazing products, as well as working with Sheila one-on-one. As you can tell, she's full of love and joy, and she'll walk you through whatever emotional trauma you might be facing right now, because there's a lot of things coming at us left, right, and center, and we need each other. So Sheila will be more than happy to have you reach out to her and work with you and help you find that wellness platform that you're desiring, that wholeness. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Stacy. Thanks for having me too. I've enjoyed it.
Me too. And I hope you stick around, because I absolutely adore you. All right, darling. We will see you inside the app. And again, ladies, if you want to reach out to her, click on her link and make sure you tell her that we sent you her way. All right. Take care.